I'm Alex.
And I'm Teddy.
And I'm Spencer.
And we are
The Button Mappers.
Hey, the Button Mappers.
It's that thangy thing right there. Little pod bucket.
Do podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to our podcast. We're going fishing.
All right,
We're casting off in space pods.
We're recording.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I pressed the button.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Three.
Three, two, one.
Welcome back to Dad Month.
Hey,
Clean your room.
Hey to all you
Eat
beautiful
your vegetables.
beautiful dads and dadders out there.
What did I tell you about leaving the lights on?
What did you tell me about? The light is on.
Don't touch my thermostat.
We have a thermostat.
This is your dad. That was for all the viewers that don't have dads, so you can still participate in Dad Month.
Yeah, we'll be your dad.
Be your dads.
Dadders.
I don't like where this is going.
3 dads.
We'll father
Yeah, I have
you.
3 dads. Whenever somebody asks about your dad, say, well, I have 3 dads.
Combined into one.
How would you combine our names?
Balexi.
What is it?
Spalexi.
Spalexi.
Let's tell the viewers
Spalexi.
what we're doing
Alexer.
with dads today.
Welcome everybody back to Dad Month. Your
What are we
favorite month.
What are we doing with dads?
Your favorite month of the year, Dad Month.
Represent.
This year on this day on Dad Month, we are talking about. I don't know how we're going to frame this. The fathers of gaming. The fuck does that mean?
Fathers in the gaming industry. This could be any notable person who we think really fathered a concept in video gaming, whether it be like a console, a video game series, or the company itself. Before we nurture this podcast, where else can viewers parent their own button mapper needs?
If you want to nurture yourself, head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and just like a good father, will breastfeed you some great content over there. Also, head on over to Discord. We'll have a tab for dads. Dads only. Don't only dads. What do you say? Only dads.
Only dads, yeah.
Only dads.
Where you can see live footage of breastfeeding by dads.
Real dads, real breastfeeding.
Real dads, real breasts.
Well, if you want to see real dads and real breasts actually in motion, you should check out the YouTube channel Button Mappers, where we put all of our content out. And every Monday there's a new full-length podcast to enjoy.
Breasts and all.
Yeah.
Those.
Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And Alex will be your daddy.
Mow the lawn.
Bless you.
Thanks.
There's another dadism for you.
Thanks, Dad. Daddy Spencer.
Welcome. Welcome, son.
Welcome, son.
You're welcome, son.
This is the
Stream
cycle
remote.
of infinite dadhood. We'll all be each other's dads. It's a weird thing going on. Okay, so we researched different dads. Who would like to speak about their dad first?
Who would like to be a dad? I'll go first. Hi, I'm Alex. Today, it would be easier if I talked about something that I'm known for, like I don't know, fucking Suda 51 or Yokotaro, some shit. But
What's that
today
mean?
I'm talking about. Shut up, Spencer. Today I'm talking. I'm just kidding, Spencer. I love you. Today I'm talking about. I take it back, Spencer. Um, Lorne Lanning. He is the brilliant man behind the Oddworld franchise. That's his baby. Wah.
Where?
And the Oddworld franchise, has been going on since the PlayStation 1 days. So, speaking of dads, my cat's yelling, "Shut up!" Thank you. Sorry, my cat was yelling at me. Um, so, Lord Lanning created the Oddworld, and he's a really interesting guy. There's really not a lot of articles you could read about Lord Lanning, except for like some of his like most recent stuff. Like I know recently he was complaining because the PlayStation Plus. He feels PlayStation Plus screwed him over or something. But if you want to know, like I pulled most of this information from an extended interview on YouTube from Ars Technica. We'll put the link. I'll make sure the link is in the description of this YouTube upload, so that you can go and listen to the interview by itself. The interview is like 2 hours and 53 minutes long. And I listened to it a few months ago. I didn't have time to listen to the whole thing again before this episode, but I will spoon feed you some of the information that I remember.
like a good daddy does.
Yeah, airplane. Um, Lauren Lanning, I know he grew up in New England, and in the early days of gaming, around the Atari times. Really interesting how he said he got into gaming. I remember he was talking about in a paper route, and he get into video games because it was super fucking cold in New England, and if he had some quarters, he would go into the arcade to warm himself up on his paper route. So he would go in and play some games, and that was around the time that like a lot of early it was like pinball and a lot of early video games really coming in. Also, his dad worked at Coleco, which was also very interesting. Do you think that's how he would have gotten into the games industry? But no. But that also the fact that he liked video games in the arcade because he liked the games that had the cocktail tabletop setup, because he said that was the best way. That's probably the best way for any gamer to like meet girls or like go on dates, is because you're sitting face to face playing a game together. So I remember he was talking about how that was like a good social interaction, really got him into video games as well. Lauren Lanning's a really interesting guy. So originally, Lauren Lanning didn't want to. He really didn't have any interest in being part of the games industry. He actually went to school for graphics and animation and stuff, and he wanted to be in Hollywood. I remember his big inspiration was he said the first movie he really saw that had like a behind the art books was like Star Wars. He said Star Wars was like cool to see what they were able to do with this fictional world and all these amazing effects, and that he was able to see that and think like I want to do stuff like that. He worked a few different odd jobs between then and getting into the Hollywood. One of which was he worked at a meat. I think it was like a meat or food processing plant, which is very interesting if you know anything about Oddworld.
Yeah.
And he said he remembered that like there's food that wasn't quite spoiled yet, but if they shipped it, it would spoil during the shipment. So they had to like trash all that food. And he remember being so upset because there's people right outside, just living on the streets that had no food, but that company, they were not going to donate that food to anybody. That food was just going to be destroyed. And I remember him talking about how like upsetting that was for him. Also, he worked when he finally did get into graphics and animation. He worked for some sort of military company for a little bit that made like prototype animations for like military tech, which is also very funny because that's not very Lord Lanning at all. But he just kind of, I don't know, job's a job, right? He finally did get into the Hollywood industry with I forget what the company was called, Rhythm and Hue Studios in Hollywood. I couldn't tell you. They worked on Babe. Remember Babe?
The pig movie.
Yeah, little
Yeah.
little pig.
Yeah. He worked there for a little bit, and through Rhythm and Hues, he met the woman he would go on to start the Oddworld stuff with. I forgot her name already. It was like Sherry something. Oh, yeah, it was Sherry McKenna, I think.
Sherry from Oddworld.
They would go to form Oddworld inhabitants, and I the idea, I don't know, I forget where the idea of making it a game came from, but I remember Lanning pitched the idea to her as a quintology. He said basically he kept telling her video games, we should make this game. You see what the graphics can do now, storytelling like video games, and she was like, no, that's stupid. We shouldn't do that. No, no, no. And then finally, he said one night he got her, like they were at a party or something, and he finally like sat down and was like ran through this entire quintology, like the story he had for this, for these characters and stuff. And she said by the end of it, she was like, "All right, let's give this a try." And that's how Oddworld, the first Oddworld, really came into play. Is that the first Oddworld, or the idea of Oddworld in general is very much you can't have Oddworld without having Lorne Lanning. I think a lot of the ideas he had came from his experiences of working in the food processing plant, and seeing how wasteful they were, and seeing the more capitalistic nature, and also working in the military field for a little bit and stuff. It's kind of came into play because Oddworld is a very anti-capitalist, anti-war game. It's a game about a janitor who finds out he's going to be turned into food, and he leads a rebellion against this evil corporation, and that's the plot of the game. I always like whenever I find creators like that you can really get like their identity and stuff like in the games. Like I remember when I was listening to that full interview, every time he would mention something, it was like it just like rung a bell, and I was like, oh, like that's exactly where that idea came from. Like there's no doubt about it. And he's still active today. Of course, the Oddworld games, they had two on the PlayStation 1. I would like to mention that apparently GT Interactive fucked up the prints for, I think it was the first game, and there was a glitch that they had fixed the glitch, but they had printed the wrong version of the game. And I remember Lorne talking about how like that he could not get GT Interactive to reprint the game until later. So like they were winning all these awards, but there was a fucked up bug in the later half of the game that nobody could get past. So I remember him talking about how awful of a situation that was, because they had fixed it and they just couldn't get it, couldn't get the game recalled or get anything fixed for that. And that has to be like one of the worst feelings. Abe's Exodus, the second game, actually they submitted the cutscenes for that game into some film festival and actually won some awards, because those games had pretty cool pre-rendered cutscenes that told us pretty cool story. He also talks about like a little bit about how they jumped from PlayStation to Xbox with Munch's Odyssey and Stranger's Wrath, about how they were looking for what had the best, I guess, processing power and stuff, so they can make the film portions of the games and stuff feel like a lot more alive or whatever. So I guess Xbox was their choice, which, I mean, granted, it was the most powerful console of the time, but it was also the Xbox, and maybe Oddworld wasn't the right franchise for that console. And of course, he's returned recently because they've done like the remake of the first game with New and Tasty, and now they have Soulstorm, which I've read some of the interviews of Soulstorm. I think whenever the YouTube one that I watched was coming out, Soulstorm wasn't out yet. It was just being shown. But now that it's out, Lawrence talked about how he thinks PlayStation screwed them over because nobody really bought the game on PS5, and then PS Plus. He said there was so many downloads that like they didn't make enough. Like they don't really get paid much for those downloads. So he felt like a lot of people were getting access to the game that it's like it's lost sales basically. Which I don't know how I feel about that, but it's just interesting to hear him kind of air his grievances with the current state of like the subscription model and stuff. Very respectable guy. I really like Lorne Lanning, and I would really recommend you listen to that interview. It's pretty interesting. Strange dude.
Yeah, you mentioned that interview to me before. I was like, I gotta play a little bit first. I did buy the physical collection, so give some support there. The way that you described the game makes me intrigued. We've been talking about Oddworld has come up as a possible game to map out or like to talk about or to do something with for a long time now. Just hearing about it and just doing like a little browse I see that he's gained recognition for his kind of vision. So it's, pretty impressive to see and to hear. What would you say to Lorne Lanning if you could talk to him right now?
I mean, I'm kind of blindsided, so I'd say, "Hey, what's up?" I'm just kidding. Like if I could ask him something,
Your long lost dad.
or okay, what's the scenario, Teddy? Where am I?
You're at a roller rink.
Okay.
Okay, what's the realistic scenario, Teddy?
So
Oh.
you've just completed 23andMe and found that you are a connected sibling to Lorne Lanning from I don't know, somebody's grandma or something.
You're a connected
Lorne.
sibling to Abe.
Are we like having lunch?
You reach out through 23andMe. Hey, I'd like to go out to lunch. He says, no, I don't do meat, so we have to go somewhere vegan.
Yeah. Where are we going? Can I go to a sandwich shop?
Are there vegan options?
Yeah, she's vegan options to sandwich shops.
Then
Bread.
yes.
That's true. You can get, well, it's okay.
You
Well,
wanna
I
get
just
some
wanted one of
bread?
those like I just wanted one of those like deli pickles, you know.
It's your
Yeah,
turn to
those are
start
really
up the conversation. How will you begin?
Oh, well, I take a crunch out of my pickle. That's a really good pickle. And then, I would probably ask him about the cancellation and some of that of the game because I know like the Oddworld series kind of plummeted after Stranger's Wrath, which is a great game, but EA shot it in the foot by not marketing it. They just threw it on the Xbox and was like, "Yep, okay, bye." And then the game suffered because of that. I would be interested to hear about like the struggles between then and New and Tasty because I know there's a lot of canceled Oddworld projects and kind of like what his creation process was because like like that's kind of gotta hurt that this series failed like that and he wasn't making the profit he needed and had to shut down for a little bit. So it's cool to see him return. So I kind of want to know about the hardships of that era of his life.
Do you think that the 5-part series he had planned is what we have?
No. Well, in fact, New and Tasty is the first game, and Soulstorm is basically a different version of Exodus. It's the same idea. So maybe we'll get it. Maybe if they do 3 more games, maybe if you start at New and Tasty, maybe that'll be like the quintology. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah,
You know,
I
when
had
I-
a friend
No, go ahead.
that
had a
had,
friend?
yeah, believe it or not, and he had Abe's Exodus. I don't think, bless you, I don't think he played Odyssey, but he had Exodus. I don't know how. Like, I think his parents just got him that for some reason, which is a really random game to just get on a whim.
Yeah.
But they got him that, and he loved it, and we loved playing it, and we would play the hell out of it. But it was just so strange. It was so odd.
Talking about him working for the War Stuff too, there was, he talked about this back and forth he had with GT Interactive, where, they were like, well, how does the character defend himself? And he's like, well, it really doesn't. And it's like, well, we want a character with guns. We want people, we want a game to sell. People like guns and action. Like we want the character to have that kind of sort of thing. So his his like go around was instead of having Abe use guns, he had Abe like mind control the enemies, and the enemies have guns, and that was kind of like his go through to get GT Interactive to okay it. Was like, look, you can use guns in the game, but Abe never actually uses the guns.
Yeah, I mean that would be so counterintuitive to the point of Abe's.
Yeah. Yeah, because Abe's like
Oh.
a scrawny little weak dude, like that's kind of the point, is that Abe is like his average Joe, he's not like the action hero. So
Just a tangent.
Cool.
I don't know a lot about Oddworld, so while you were telling us his name, I looked up Lorne Lanning, and she's an actress from Baywatch. And I was like confused.
No, not Lorne.
Yeah, I understand now. Well, shout out to Lorne Lanning from Baywatch.
Is she a dad?
Maybe. Anything's
Baywatch?
possible nowadays.
Yeah. 2022.
Year of the Ultra Dad. Cool, Lorne. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lorne. Can I go next?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I didn't just pick any dad. I picked a Poke Dad. Not the father of Poke, the Hawaiian fish. I picked the Pokemon dad, Satoshi Tajiri. I read an interview with Satoshi from Time Magazine. You have to go through a Wayback Machine, way back to 1999. And he was being interviewed about his games on the Game Boy Color. Spencer, can you do a Wayback soundbite? That was sound? Okay. Thank you. Satoshi frequently shuns the limelight. He's a very private person. They start the interview with the question, "Are you okay? You look pretty tired." And he says, "It's the way I work. I sleep 12 hours and then work 24 hours. And he's worked these irregular hours for the past 3 years. He states it's better to stay up day and night to come up with ideas." Now, I understand that with the video game industry and developers, they tend frequently to, have these kind of like late shifts, but that's one of the most extreme I've heard. So I guess he's just a fan of his projects and he's willing to do whatever it takes. A little bit of backstory on Satoshi. I think we all know him as the bug catcher, but there are other interesting things about him. He says, "I'm part of the first generation who grew up with manga and anime, after Godzilla. I was absorbed with Ultraman on TV and in manga. The profession of game designer was created really recently. If it didn't exist, I'd probably be making anime. I was really into Space Invaders in about 1978. It got me more and more interested in video games. There wasn't any media to get information about games, so I came up with Game Freak magazine." Now, we know Game Freak for being the company behind Pokemon and also Pulseman. Do you guys know a lot about Game
Timbo, the
Freak?
badass elephant.
That too. Do you guys know a lot about Game Freak magazine?
Not at all.
So he made it with his friend and just they actually got picked up for some copies.
It's a little,
Very, very light.
little power up knowledge there. He has a quote, "We sold, with his best issue, we sold 10,000 copies. It cost 300 yen each. I was 18. I already had a business going. At first, I used a photocopy machine. More important than style was the information, but when the sales increased, it was difficult to do by hand, so I took it to a printer." That was the big machine. But still really impressive of a resume for, in his young age. We're getting into the bug collecting. The place where I grew up in Machida, a western Tokyo suburb, was still rural back then. There were rice paddies, rivers, forests. It's interesting to think about because, I think we think Tokyo, we think like the city. I guess you think like New York City, you think the same way. But he says back in those days, it was more nature driven. And this is like coming from a 1999 perspective. Then development started taking place. And as it grew, all the insects were driven away. I was really interested in collecting insects. Every time I found a new insect, it was mysterious to me. And the more I searched for insects, the more I found. As I gathered more and more, I'd learn about them, like how some would feed on one another. So he talks about some of his strategies for collecting bugs. They range from, he talks about the common Japanese bug catcher style, which was like to put honey on a piece of bark and then a beetle would come to it and kids would collect beetles. I mean, this is all kind of weird to me. I'm not a bug guy. But he says other kids didn't do what I did. If I put my hand in the river, I get a crayfish. If there was a stick over the hole, I would create an air bubble and I'd find insects there. I usually took them home. He says, I liked coming up with new ideas. I'd put a stone under a tree because they slept during the day and they like sleeping under stones, the beetles. So in the morning, I pick up the stone and find them. Yeah, I don't know, kind of an interesting hobby that he's got going on. And I think what we all kind of know and appreciate as some of the inspiration for the collection aspects and all the different creatures that you see in Pokemon. But it's not the only thing. He says everything I did as a kid is kind of rolled into one. That's what Pokemon is. Playing video games, watching TV, Ultraman with his capsule monsters, they all became ingredients for the game. And then I'd add deforestation there as well. Time asks, how did you get hooked up with Nintendo? Tajiri, I saw Game Boy when it was first released. The idea for Pokemon clicked in my mind. The basic idea for Pokemon seemed a good fit for Game Boy. At the time, Nintendo was not really that into the idea. He says they didn't really understand it, but then it ended up being like a bang up, game success. We all know like the first one just blew up. And he says he felt like a baseball hitter, like, who's like sliding the second base, after making like a big hit. So and he just didn't expect it. Let's talk about Pikachu. When they did the anime, they wanted a specific character to focus on. Pikachu is relatively popular compared with the others, and potentially both boys and girls would like it. Although he says in Japan, with the games, they weren't modeled off the anime, so you didn't necessarily start with Pikachu, although a lot of Japanese players would go after Pikachu. In America, we have like the yellow, and the kids would really like, starting with Pikachu in the party. And he says that he thinks American audiences actually appreciate Pokemon more, at least at that time, and that they are playing it the right way, or the way it was like meant to be played. So that was an interesting perspective. He does say that making Pikachu the mascot was not his idea, though. Monster taming. What's more important is that the monsters are controllable by the players. It could be the monster within yourself, representing fear or anger, for example. So I think we all have like our customized parties. We all have like different starters. We've gotten into that debate before. But he mentions that it's kind of like an element of personalization and choice. They're put in capsules, kind of like going back to Ultraman. Everybody can give the Pokemon their own names. Pikachu's like the name of the species, but each player can name their own Pikachu, so kids can relate to it more. They get more attached to them that way. They also have meaning, like Nyarth, which is Meowth. It's from a Japanese proverb about a cat with money on his head that doesn't know it's there. It's about understanding the value of money. I don't think they have that concept in the US, so the name is different. And then you have more literal ones like Pikachu. Pika is the sound Japanese. Say an electric spark makes. Pika. And then chew is the sound the mouse makes. Chew. So, I guess choo-choo rocket. Pikachu is like an electric mouse. Rivalry. In the game, the name of the protagonist is Satoshi. Do you know the name of the rival?
Miyamoto. Or Shigeru.
Shigeru. So the main rival in the game is Shigeru. Why is that? Well, he says he really looks up to Miyamoto-san. In the TV series, Shigeru is Satoshi's master, and in the game, they're rivals. He's always a little bit ahead of Satoshi. Since I was a teenager playing Donkey Kong, he's always been my role model. He's a mentor for my heart. And so throughout the years, he's always kind of had that perspective of like respect for Miyamoto. And they ask him frequently throughout the interview, well, you've caught up to him, haven't you? Your games sell way better than he does. He's like, no. Like, if that's the case, it's because I'm a byproduct of Miyamoto. So a very humble perspective, and it's nice to see that. A quote here about RPGs. And this is from Time. It seems like role-playing games are more popular for
pappies, for all the pappies out there.
All the papas out there. In Japan than the US. Why is that? Tajiri. Well, one reason is that back when we had arcade games only, they cost 100 yen for one game. I think in the US, it was always much cheaper at 25 cents. So, 20 years ago, we thought it was very expensive, but when role-playing games were introduced in Japan, it was revolutionary because once you bought the software, no matter how many times you played, it was free. I think that's kind of like a catch-all for just console games in general, but still an interesting perspective on kind of like the blow-up success of Pokemon. Doesn't necessarily apply, though, for American audiences because it like really blew up for us, too. So, he's speculating here. Fainting. In the game, the monsters faint. They don't die. Tajiri says, I was really careful in making monsters faint rather than die. I think that young people playing games have an abnormal concept about dying. They start to lose and say, I'm dying. It's not right for kids to think about a concept of death that way. They need to treat death with more respect. Here's a funny quote from Time. Well, there's a preacher in the U.S. who says Pikachu is the devil. Tajiri, I never heard of that. I heard there was a guy who criticized Harry Potter because of the magic, but I saw the author and she seemed really nice until she got on Twitter. The critic seemed like a grouchy guy. A joke. So those are the main points from the interview. I think as far as legacy goes, it's nice to see that he's remained humble throughout the years. Obviously, this doesn't cover the changes in Pokemon throughout the years and how he feels about that. But it's nice to see how he feels about one of the most commercial, successful entries in like any real Nintendo era. So I thought this was an interesting insight into the man, the myth, the dad, Pokey Dad, Satoshi Tajiri.
Is he proudest of Timbo the Badass Elephant?
Find out next time. Dad Month 2 or Elephant Month.
We did get into the elephant game.
How many elephant games can we find?
Next Pokuary. Tembo the Badass Elephant map out.
It's so weird that it's strange that he's so well known for basically one game. And I guess that's all you have to be when you're that big. Or when it gets that big. But most developers try to make something else. And usually never live up to much else. But he's just really focused on that.
Yeah, there's some weird ones in between every so often. Like Tembo or...
Little Town Hero, right? That one.
I don't see his name on the list for games on the wiki for that, but I do see between the Pokemon's Drill Dozer in 2005, Harmo Knight
The game was good.
in 2012, Tembo in 2015, Giga Wrecker in 2017, and that was pretty much it in the in-betweens. I think Pulse Man has kind of eluded me for a long time. I'm interested in that, and there's also Yoshi, the self-titled game.
Is it the green guy?
Gringa, yeah.
It's always, I mean, granted, like I think honestly, like I didn't think of what I was going to say before I said it. Sorry, guys. Is the fact that like Pokemon was kind of an anomaly, right? It was a new franchise that was being pioneered on a console that was like old, was it like 10 years old at that point or something? Like it.
Well,
Game Boy had been out
Pokemon...
for a while.
True, yeah. Pokemon came out in 96.
When did the Game Boy come out? 80.
9, maybe?
So it was still old hardware.
Yeah, 89.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I don't know, like you don't see that a lot, especially to like that success.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, the Game Boy was kind of a magnificent console. Like, we learned that with the Argonaut thing, you know? It's like there was a lot of untapped potential there. And, like, really, Pokemon is huge, you know, to think about, like, on that system. You know, he created a whole world out of his imagination. Like, that really translated well to the console. You know, so it's something that even if you play that original version, still is, like, very extensive. You know, you have Pokédex entries for everything. Oh, I didn't even get into the Link cable. He was really about that. Like this idea of, they compare it to sumo wrestling. Because it's like a one-on-one thing. He's like, the internet wasn't out at that time. So, but just the idea of like transferring, you know, like trading, all of that fascinated him.
Well, I was reading about him in a book, and they talked about a lot of the developers would go into these games into like creating a new game, and they would go in with a verb. It's kind of interesting. And his verb was trade. Like he's like, I want to design a game around the concept of trading, which is where you get like the two different versions of it. So you have to trade to get all of them. And the link cable was just the idea of seeing like a bug go on a cable, like crawl across into a different, like from one thing to the other. So that's kind of cool. There is trading in the game too, but I feel like it definitely spawned like a whole other part that isn't just trading. But still, it's interesting that that's where he like really started on the Pokemon thing. So it's really built from the ground up to steal your money.
My verb is capitulate. Just so you know.
It's a good one.
Ooh, that'd be a good game.
Capitulate.
Game of capitulation.
Capitulate. Capitulated.
That's like to
Stamp.
concede. To
Stamp up.
like to like yeah, like to concede something or to.
I used to think it was like from recap. Like if you're recapping, you're capitulating your points, but that was wrong. I think it was to submit.
Yeah, like to like be like, okay, I'll let you have this one or have.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting game to make,
I'll
Alex.
let you have my Pikachu.
Let you have it.
You just have
It's
it.
the
Oh,
game
well.
of giving things away.
Yeah. A game of benevolence
Uh,
and charity.
Can you run your charity?
all right, Teddy. What's the guy's name again?
Satoshi Tajiri.
Satoshi. Okay, I'm gonna say Satoshi. So okay, Teddy, you're at your local Jimmy John's.
What's a Jimmy John?
It's like a Subway. It's like a
Nice.
better Subway.
Can we
You're
make
at
it
your local
Quiznos?
Okay, I'll make it Quiznos, but I like Jimmy John's better.
Okay.
You're at your wait. Do they have pickles at Quiznos?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Quiznos is
You're at-
phenomenal.
Quiznos is okay. Jimmy John's is better. So you're at your local Quiznos, and you're in line to get your favorite sandwich and a fresh pickle. And in line in front of you is
Standalone
Mr.
pickle?
Yeah.
Okay. Fried.
You ever had like a pickle with the sandwich?
Like a spear.
I get it with
Yeah.
a burger, like pickle and burger. You know, like the
Yeah, they do pickle
Yeah.
on deli sandwich. So,
on the sandwich. Yes, I understand that. Like chips, pickle chips.
but like on the side too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Anyway, so what's his name? Satoshi?
Satoshi Tajiri.
Yoshi. He's in line in front of you ordering a Quiznos sub. My question for you is he turns around and says in Japanese, "Young man, can you help me order a Quiznos sandwich? Which Quiznos sandwich are you ordering?"
Jesus.
No, I was kidding. and then afterwards you can ask him one question.
Okay, good, because I don't remember the menu. It's been like 20 years since I've even seen a Quiznos. And then I can ask him whatever, like, hey, you're that Satoshi guy from the Pokemon series. This is in 1999 when I'm my age at the time.
Yes, you're time traveling.
And okay, he'd have to introduce himself, be like, oh yeah,
Wait,
I
wait.
made the Pokemon.
You time traveled back in time to go to Quiznos.
You time travel back to an arbitrary time in 1999
Yeah.
to talk to him.
No, not to. Teddy just stops. Teddy's on a different mission, but he stops into Quiznos.
Wait, he has a different mission to go to 1999, but
Yeah,
he
but he's
happens.
hungry. He's hungry, so he went to Quiznos.
Wait, my 30 whatever year old self goes to 99, or I'm my age at the
Yeah.
time?
Your 30-year-old self is in 99 right now, eating at Quiznos. You bump into him. What do you ask
Understood.
him?
So understand that he hasn't released anything past 99.
Yes. I
Okay.
understand that. But I'm also understanding that I know that I've gone back in time on a mission.
That's the weird part.
Yeah, which
That's
I'm
a
just
weird-
which I'm
So
neglecting.
you know what? Also, you know the legacy.
Do I know the mission?
That's not important.
What if the
That's
mission
not important.
What's important right now is talking to him at Quiznos.
What if I run into my whatever year old self in the same line?
At Quiz.
Yes.
How often did you go to Quiznos?
I don't know, once a year.
I think you got a pretty good chance.
Did Quiznos exist in 1999? I need to know this.
Hold on.
Come on, Alex. Flesh out the story. Why is he traveling back in time in 1999?
Okay, in 1981, we're
gonna-
good.
You're not gonna like it.
You can tell me after. I'll give you my answer first. So I've gone on this mission to talk to Satoshi, and I can only ask him one question. I gotta make this a good one. What do you want Pokemon to look like 10 years? Nah, we'll do the but I think 5 years from now is fine. In 10 years. What do you want Pokemon to look like in 10 years as a video game franchise?
Okay. What do you think his answer would be?
Probably say more monsters, but I want to keep the elements of collection and communication, interesting and fun for the players. And I want them to fall in love with the worlds and the monsters that I create.
Okay. That's a good answer. And then afterwards, you complete your mission of getting Sega to include a DVD drive on the Dreamcast.
Nice.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And the
That
gaming
was his mission.
landscape is forever changed as we know it. Sony
PS2
is
doesn't
only
take over.
making TVs.
Shoot still does very well, but it doesn't take over.
Mission accomplished.
Oh, Teddy.
Has no effect on the
Go-
Pokemon series whatsoever.
Yeah. Quiznos, I think, goes out of business.
But he had a great sub.
After this,
He'll forever remember this conversation at Quiznos. Spencer, who's your daddy?
who's your daddy and what does he do?
Spencer will be
my
presenting on
daddy-
the Terminator today.
My daddy is Hideo Kojima.
My daddy is Hideo Kojima.
Daddy.
My dad works at Nintendo.
My dad's cooler than you.
My dad will beat you up.
My dad will beat your dad up in the parking lot.
My dad worked for Konami. They got screwed over.
My dad's a bug catcher.
My dad single-handedly built the successful career of this company throughout the 90s, and then they shit on him.
I love him so
Yeah.
much.
Go ahead, Spencer.
Kojima was born on August 24th, 1963 in Setagaya, Tokyo. His father died early when he was 13 years old. His father was 13 years old. He died when Kojima was 13. But it's worth noting that they made him watch a lot of movies. They actually wouldn't let him sleep until the movie was over every night.
Wake
So-
up!
Yeah, so he was an unintentional movie buff as a child. Probably some kind of abuse there, but we won't get into that. He enrolled at a university to study economics and then decided to join the video game industry. He was really into writing, but again, way into movies. He searched for a way to do film production, but ended up working for Konami, as they all do. And while he was at Konami, his first game was Penguin Adventure, the sequel to Antarctic Adventure. Everyone's favorite. And then what I found interesting was
You
his
have to
next-
go on an adventure.
Save us, Penguin. These are for the MSX, by the way. And what I found interesting was I always thought that Metal Gear was his project, but it was actually a senior associate was working on Metal Gear and was unable to continue. So he took it over and clearly put some of his interests into it. And interesting, the hardware limitations hindered the development of the game's combat, which I assume Metal Gear was originally just going to be like all the other games at the time, or just shoot, pew, 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 pow, pow. But the hardware limitations hindered the development of the combat, so he decided to focus on a prisoner escaping instead of fighting. Which really leads us to our stealth genre, which he is known as the father of stealth games. And he's definitely one of the pioneers of that genre. And so he was able to finish Metal Gear, although it was ported to the NES, not by him, and they removed a bunch of content from it that he apparently is very upset about, which is a bummer. So if you can play it, play the MSX version, although to me they're all pretty unplayable, but I'm sure Alex loves them. The next project was Snatcher, a graphic adventure game. And a lot of this one's design was based on science fiction, including one of my favorite movies of all time, Blade Runner. Even though I've never played Snatcher, I'm sure I would at least enjoy those references. There's cyberpunk and semi-open world design, which I'm curious how that all worked out way back then. But maybe it's an interesting one, and I'll eventually take a look at. Next thing that's worth noting, of course, well, he did do Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, when Konami tried to make their own version called Snake's Revenge,
Ew.
which is bizarre. That's very interesting that they would choose to do that.
Yeah, Snake's Revenge on NES is not good.
The only way you can play it in America, like unless you obviously steal it or do something, is through Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. But very bizarre that they would try to steal his own work to.
No, I
create a
think they're on the
sequel.
Legacy one on PS3 too.
Oh, is there? Okay,
Yeah, the
There-
Legacy Collection thing.
gotcha. And then he made a game called Police Knots, which is an adventure game. But what everyone knows him for, the most important one, of course, as Zone of the Enders. Everybody knows him as the Zone of the Enders guy,
Yeah.
based on the
Max.
anime.
Gotta love
But
Max.
before Zone of the Enders, he made this little game called Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation, which was originally supposed to be on the 3DO, which I didn't know. But
Dodged
that
the bullet
obviously-
there, didn't you, Konami?
It's a pan
Obviously
of
did-
Sonic.
yeah. So they made it for PlayStation, which Metal Gear Solid, obviously it's called Solid because it is in 3D. And it's like defined stealth games going forward. It introduced so many concepts. A lot of the concepts were actually in Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake that they had, including the cones of vision, stuff like that. But Metal Gear Solid, I think, is what he really wanted to build the whole time. It had all of his, like, he's able to do a lot of the more cinematic style that he always references and loves, mixed with stealth action. And I think it really is just the culmination of everything he wanted to make. And to me, it's the quintessential stealth game. I don't really think anything is... I don't think stealth has really taken off much beyond it. You could argue, like, there's games that do it, and Metal Gear Solid does it better later. But really, Metal Gear Solid is like that huge. Like, if there's a stealth graph, it goes Metal Gear Solid, and then it's just, it can go up from there, but never to that height. Made Metal Gear Solid 2, which is Alex's favorite, and
Which
made Metal
there's
Gear.
a demo of it included in Zone of the Enders. Just so you know.
That's right. And then made Metal Gear Solid. And the funny thing about the demo of that Metal Gear Solid, the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo, is you play as Solid Snake the whole time, which is genius.
Oh yeah,
Because-
it lies to you. Straight up lies to you.
Because in the game, you'd play as him for all of like 20 minutes or something,
Yeah,
or however
he's
long
on
it
that
takes to
boat.
get through the
Yeah,
intro.
he's like on the boat for like 20 minutes, and it's like, okay, well,
and then you completely change your character to a different one, which we won't get into. But
or
Great-
if you
great stuff.
play Substance, you can play the skateboarding mode. So we're all on the same page.
there you go. But then he made my favorite game of the series, and one of my favorite games ever, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, which is actually a prequel. It takes place in 1964 and has amazing music and takes a lot more influences from James Bond.
Can you sing
So
some
you
of the song? I can't.
What a thrill.
Through
In silence.
the night.
What a thrill.
I just I forget some of the lyrics, but all the main chords like I give my life
Not for honor, but for you.
Make it up. My job.
It's so fucking good.
I know this one. What the world needs now is love.
No,
Oh, was that close?
not even a little bit.
You need to hear the Snake Eater theme. It's good.
We'll get
It's
there.
mind-blowingly good.
Okay.
And there's also a line in that where he says, "Some days you do, and some days you feed on a tree frog."
Yeah,
It's like the most random because you do eat them in the game, but it's so bizarre. It's so weird, but what a phenomenal game to me. That is
And
the pinnacle.
you talking about his parents. I know they were big in the Bond, and so is he. He loves Bond, so that's like a total homage.
We got a
Oh, yeah.
dadception going on.
Absolutely. It's But anyway, that's my favorite series. He also did Boktai 1 and 2, which are games that you basically can't emulate because you have to
Sun
use the
games,
sun.
right? Yeah.
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 But freaking awesome. They're fun games, but I mean, we can't really even play them anymore. I bet you even if you found one, the freaking battery or whatever would be out. I don't really know the logistics behind it, but great concept. He did some other. He worked on Super Smash Bros. Melee. I mean Brawl, I should say. He tried to get into Melee, but didn't work out. But he got into Brawl, and he worked on the level, the Shadow Moses level. He co-directed Metal Gear Solid 4. I have my thoughts on it. I think you do too. But it's still a good game, but it's bizarre.
Boy.
And then he worked on a couple other. He did Metal Gear Rising, or Rising Revengeance, and Peace Walker. Apparently, he was at this point he was trying to get out of doing all this stuff, but none of the teams were doing anything right, so he just stepped in and took over again. And then finally, he did a couple other things. I don't want to get into any of that, but finally, we get to he did Metal Gear Solid 5 or V, really what it's called. And I am not personally a fan of it. But the gameplay is really, really solid. But there's the way that the game is just bizarre. And then he was ousted by Konami. There's a whole thing about this that is so like he said, she said. But reports began to surface that Kojima would part ways with longtime publisher Konami after the release of Phantom Pain. At the Game Awards 2015, Metal Gear Solid V won the awards for Best Action Game and Best Score Soundtrack, but Kojima did not attend the event, being reportedly barred from attending by Konami. Instead, the award was accepted by Kiefer Sutherland on his behalf, who did voice acting for that game. It's just really, really bizarre stuff, and it's interesting to that part of the history will be very interesting in a book, I'm sure, sometime later. Because Konami was in trouble for a lot of things at that time. There were rumors that they had like fire escapes blocked, and they had like people were not able to leave, and they were making Kojima like be a janitor for days, which is again just tons of rumors. There's no way to prove any of this, but there's just a lot of interesting stuff from Konami at that time. So very curious how that goes. And then which would lead to him making his own studio. There was obviously a lot of people probably played his
PT
demo that was supposed to be Silent Hill that never came out, but man, was it fantastic. If you ever got the ability to do that, that'd be great. But he ended up making Death Stranding with Norman Reedus, which is divisive. I'm not a fan. Some people seem to like it. It's a walking simulator that is a little scary. That's how I see it. I played a little bit of it. I think it's kind of terrible, but it is a Kojima game, so there you go. So that's his history in gaming. Always will be known as an innovator. He has got some big misses and then some big hits, but the big hits, man, Metal Gear Solid to me is just one of the most legendary series ever. So, love him.
Well, that's sort of the thing with Kojima, I think, is that like anything outside of Metal Gear has always been a bit of a miss.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying they're all bad games, because they're definitely not. But there's never been like another Metal Gear type hit, you know?
Yeah.
He's got a lot of clout. You know, recently I was watching that a couple weeks ago or months ago, whenever they had the summer, what the fuck is it called now? The Summer Game Fest with what's his face? Jeff
Keighley.
Keighley's Summer Game Fest. We just made E3 again, guys.
Yeah.
So they had the Xbox showcase at Summer Game Fest, sponsored by probably fucking Game Fuel or some stupid shit. And there was like that section where Phil Spencer was like, "And look at this," and it was Kojima, and he was like, "I'm making an Xbox game," and it was like, "Yeah!" It was like he didn't even show off a game or like anything. He was just like, "I'm making a game for the Xbox," and then people were like, "Yeah, Kojima," and it's like he's got that much clout behind him. Yeah,
that's kind of the annoying part of gaming sometimes, is the fanboyism, which I think Hideo Kojima kind of deserves it, but at the same time, it's really annoying to just be I remember on the Switch when, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago or something, when they're like Metroid Prime 4. And then that's it. And then everyone's like, holy shit. And it's like, okay, we never ever heard about that in like
Yeah,
Jesus.
and
Yeah.
we've had another Metroid game since.
fanboyism around him is a little irritating sometimes, but Metal Gear.
Why is he your daddy?
To me, he pioneered stealth, which, especially way back when Metal Gear was just the thing, was the exact antithesis of what they wanted out of games. Just like Alex said when they were doing Oddworld. Like, does this character shoot? I mean, technically, Snake could shoot, but the point wasn't to do that. It was to hide and sneak around.
all the time if you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you really appreciate that, like stealth in games, and when done right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, stealth done right is one of the most satisfying mechanics in a game. It's really annoying when games that aren't stealth games try to shoehorn it in, and then it's freaking terrible.
If you
But-
walk up on somebody, you're like, you're trying to like slap them or something.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Stealth is such like a hard one to master, and I think he did it. Whereas like when an RPG is like, we put a stealth part in our game, or something, it's just like, no, this isn't the same thing. Things that I think it inspired are things like Zelda: The Wind Waker had some really good stealth elements to it that I thought were really good. They kind of remind me of Metal Gear Solid. Tenchu is a pretty good one. There's a series called, oh shit, it's where you play like a little goblin. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's made by Eidos, but that's actually a really good game too. But yeah, stealth is a really tough one to pin down.
Oh,
I
you
think
forgot Splinter Cell.
You know what? I bet you those are good. I haven't played a Splinter Cell game.
No, they are good. I mean, I don't think they're like Metal Gear good, but they are really, really good games.
Yeah.
But whenever those games were like touted or talked about, even by Ubisoft or by the developers, their benchmark is Metal Gear. They're trying to make the Metal Gear killer or like the Metal Gear game for Xbox, basically.
The other reason, for better or for worse, he really pioneered cutscenes and movie qualities to games, and we didn't have to say everything he fathered was great, because there's issues with that. Some of those cutscenes get way too long and way too self-indulgent. But it wouldn't be a Kojima game without it, so it's like, all right. So that one I have some issues with, but it's also, his cutscenes are freaking awesome too, so he's my daddy.
Scenario time.
Uh-oh.
You are walking to pick a public location, Alex.
Firehouse Subs.
Do you know this,
Oh.
Spencer?
Yeah, we got him here.
So you go into Firehouse Subs. It's closing shift. You ask to use the restroom, and as you walk in, you notice a strange figure mopping the floors. It's Hideo Kojima. What do you say to your dad?
I'd say, did Konami put you up to this?
He says, "Yeah, the union sucks, so this was the best I could get. How will you follow up?"
Mopping up Firehouse Subs.
I'd say, you take the day off. I will mop up Firehouse Subs for you. Thank you for all of your services.
What do you order?
What do I have to order?
Yeah.
Well, my
do
default at a sub place would be roast beef.
That's a good choice. I had a roast beef from Jimmy John's. If you guys can't tell, I really want a sandwich right now. Why I keep defaulting to a sub shop, because I really want to go get a sandwich.
True daddiest of them all. Subway shops. Jimmy John? Papa John? Papa Jimmy John?
Jimmy John.
Quiznos?
He's not a racist. They had a little nugget looking dude. Remember those things?
Senor.
Remember that was Spencer? Remember the commercial we watched with the little dudes? Like, Quiznos, go get our sub.
Yeah, our Quiznos subs. They're so good.
Yeah, Quiznos sub.
They have
Yeah.
a pepper bar.
Shit, what were they called?
The
They had
Spaz
names.
monkeys or something.
Sponge monkeys.
There we go. That's what it was. I knew it was some kind of S word. Monkeys. I thought it was Spaz monkeys.
What was the last one? Johnny Rocket or something?
Quick firehouse subs.
I don't know how to make a dad joke.
We also have Penn Station too. I like Penn Station.
Penn Station is really good.
Oh my god, yeah.
But they don't have that out here. But it's freaking good. I had it in like Ohio, I think, and I was blown away.
Love Penn Station.
And we have Jersey Mike's, which is okay.
Oh yeah, Jersey.
They're not the best, but they're good.
See, Penn Station. I mean, a lot of people use the transit, but not everyone loves it. So you guys are rare exceptions.
Basically, as long as it's not Subway, I'm good. Because Subway is like the lowest bar for me.
Oh yeah, I'd rather take the railroad. You know, I mean, the subway system kind of sucks out here.
He's talking about something else. He's not talking about sandwiches.
Oh, you could eat a sandwich on the subway. It's just kind of gross. It's all like
If you eat a Subway
dirty,
sandwich on the Subway,
be a new low. Because you're like
what's your
below
Subway
ground.
order? We get a Subway.
Italian.
I'm probably going tuna.
Oh.
Tuna.
Chicken breast. Double up on the protein.
Let us know in the comments below. What would you get your dad from Subway? And why? And who's your gaming dad?
Who's your daddy, boys? Let us know in the comments below.
And clean
This is
your
your
room
dad.
while you're at it.
Your dad.
Finish your homework, then come help me carry in this furniture that I got from the store. I'm going to yell at you every time you turn it the wrong way, even though I'm also doing it wrong. But it's your fault. I think here, hold this flashlight while I work on the car. You're not holding it correctly, though. Why are you even helping me?
Damn it, boy. You get his with the damn it, Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby.
That was good.
What comes next after damn it, Bobby?
Oh.
Some propane, right?
I sell propane and propane accessories.
You know, I was sad. I watched that new Beavis and Butthead that came on Paramount Plus. It was funny, but like, they didn't have the old dude that sounded like Hank. I was like, damn.
Is that your review?
Yeah. That's literally my review. It's pretty good, but they didn't have the old guy, Mr. Anderson. I think his name was. That was like a prototype Hank
From the Matrix.
Just that guy. Yeah, Mr.
Beavis and Butthead. I seen you trying to cause trouble.
Take the red pill.
Red pill.
You take both pills. Fire. Yes, fire. With a shirt up over his head. That'd be a different movie.
Yes, it would.
Can somebody put Beavis in the Matrix for me?
Put him in it or put him in the movie The Matrix?
Put him in the movie. Like, edit the movie The Matrix with Beavis.
Well, it's basically Matrix 4, right? Yeah, or Matrix 5.
Yeah, they did make the whole like animated Matrix, right? There's like
Yeah, the Animatrix.
the
What a
Animatrix. Yeah, put Beavis.
That's an
What a
anime
name.
trick.
Boss, we have this this animation compilation of Matrix stuff. What do we call it? Animatrix? I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll run with
You
it.
know, I learned something about that recently. Actually, it was when I was reading my book. Is the team that did The Spirits Within did one of those movies. The first one of the movies in that. That was the last thing they ever did.
I haven't watched the Animatrix in fucking years. I couldn't tell you.
I've never seen it. I stopped watching The Matrix after 2.
I saw when I was a teenager, but I couldn't tell you. You know, they did a this. What are we even doing? They did the Halo, like a Halo one. and they
Yeah.
had a Halo. What's it called? Like Legends or something? I don't remember what it's called. But they
Halo
had
Halo Atrix.
Halo
Hatrix.
Halomation.
Atrix sounds like some death metal band.
I'm in the Hatrix, man.
Halo.
Yeah.
They had one that was in the style of like anime, like Dragon Ball, and it was like, this is the weirdest thing. Like it was a Spartan. It wasn't a chief, but it was like a really clumsy Spartan that got lost on like a dinosaur planet, not the Star Fox game. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Weird.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you played this for your dad. We have a great dad out happening this month. A dad map out.
Get your dad out. We're definitely not recording this way ahead of time, so
Nope.
put in the comments if you can guess what other episode we recorded today. I want to see how much you're paying attention to what we're wearing.
To our shirts, yeah.
See the N64 logo?
It says hello. It says hello, Mayor. Mayor's at the bottom.
Oscar Mayer.
Oscar Mayer.
Oscar Mayer. That's what I think of when I see Isabel.
Let's go Jimmy John's, boys.
Yeah.
But Mappers Vacation 2023.
Jimmy John's.
Spencer, long time no see. It's funny meeting you here. Jimmy John's. There's Alex. Whoa, hey Alex.
Take 2 pickles, please.
And
Yeah, we're just like ignoring each other. Trying to get our sandwich order.
That's the situation. We all bump into each other at the same Jimmy John's.
and it's like,
Just,
I step on
hoping
like
we don't like
somebody spilled
recognize
water.
each other.
Like, oh hey, can you send a janitor? Oh wow, it's Hideo Kojima. And then suddenly
The weirdest
Satoshi
button.
Tajiri runs in, chasing a beetle into the store. And meanwhile,
Jimmy John's
Lorne
closed.
Lanning
I
is
can get Penn Station
criticizing
though, so.
the meat industry. You know, that's
I can't believe you guys would eat this meat from this place.
and then like everybody's
guessing-
dad comes in.
I guess I'm gonna order some Penn Station because Jimmy John's is closed.
Okay.
You know what I got from there was a meatball
I'm a
Way-
Reuben guy.
back in the day. Oh, Reuben's are good too.
Yeah.
I like a Reuben. Reuben is good.
Meatball's
You know what
good,
they
too.
say about that meatball?
Do you want to hear a story about Penn Station?
Apparently not. I don't know. Alex doesn't care about that concept. What
Well, now
what
you'll
do they
never
say about
know.
that-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, what do they say about the meatball?
That's a spicy
No,
meatball.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
There you go.
Do you want to hear a story about Penn Station? You can leave the center cut. I don't care. But one time, after I had gotten off work, and my sister, who was living with me at the time, was like, "Hey, can you pick up something to eat?" And I was like, "Sure." So I went to Penn Station, and I got her a pizza sub, which is her favorite,
Mhm.
and then I got myself a Philly cheesesteak. And then I drive home. I had gotten some groceries too. I drive home. I put the food down, and I'm like, I'm gonna put these groceries away real fast. And my sister had been in the apartment, like smoking marijuana, and
Devil's lettuce.
she was so high that she doesn't like cheesesteaks or anything, but she was so high she ate half my sandwich without realizing that it wasn't the right sandwich. She just ate half of the Philly cheesesteak.
Oh my god.
And then I come out and I like open the other sandwich. It's the fucking pizza one. And I was like, this is your sandwich. Like, how can you not tell the difference between Philly cheesesteak and fucking like pepperoni? I was like, what are you? And she was like, and I was like, oh my god. So I like forced her to give me half of her pizza sub. She was so high she ate half my sandwich without realizing it.
Now I'm no druggie, but are those the munchies?
It's the munchies of the brain. They eat your brain cells.
Brain munchies.
Yeah.
Brain munchies sounds like a cool like 70s or 60s
Hey, kids!
horror film.
Are you bored? Yeah.
It's like an anti-drug
Do you
horror
want to
film.
kill your brains?
I was thinking like it was like a 90s toy.
Yeah, the
Parents just don't understand the brain munchies.
They're coming to get
What?
me.
It's like a really confused mom. What? Throw them at your sister. Put them on your dog. The brain munchies. What are they? We don't fucking know. You love them. You buy them in a tube. Eat them. Smell them. Put them under your tennis shoes. We don't know what they do. The brain munchies.
Figure it out.
They bounce? Sure.
Hey guys, is your brain hungry? Yeah. Well, boy, have we got a toy for you. Brain munchies.
Rock music plays.
Brain munchies. Brain munchies.
Okay, dads.
Chicken parm sounds good.
What's the ultimate dad sandwich?
Ooh,
Might be a Reuben. That's a dad sandwich.
that says a dad sandwich. What is a dad sandwich? I don't know. Like a good like ham and cheese, good cold cut. You know, very basic. Some mayo, a lot of mayo.
I'll go bacon, lettuce, tomato.
Yeah.
You know, they have a name for that.
Bolt.
That name is too long. Is there any way that we can shorten that
Can we
somehow?
shorten that? I get exhausted saying that.
Bolt.
Like an LTB? LTB or something? It doesn't roll off the tongue, though.
Yeah, can we use the last letters of each word?
Okay. N. E.
Oh.
O. Neo.
Neo.
Oh, Neo.
Can I get a Neo from the Matrix, please?
It all,
Oh, no, how do we do
comes
this?
back.
It's all connected.
We're in the Matrix. With our dads. It's weird.
Patrons.
All right, meet you at Jimmy John's.
Okay, I stopped recording.
As you should.
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.